Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Blue Maxima. I've been playing a few hours of Cold War, so I'm just going to jump right into talking about it. We're going to be doing campaign, multiplayer, and then I'm going to just whine a bit about how zombies just do not gel with me at all, so there's your warning for that section. But otherwise, please enjoy. Imagine, if you will, the most bog-standard Call of Duty campaign checklist you could possibly have, and that applies to the absolute majority of the missions that are in Cold War's campaign. And that's the biggest problem with it. There are big set pieces, yes. There are big guns, yes. There are many men being exploded and shot and falling down and what have you, yes. But none of it just sticks out in any way that's even remotely reasonable, to the point where I'm having a lot of trouble remembering the missions in particular that don't put a drastic spin on things. I mean, there's this one mission where you're going through on an APC, blowing up this American town for reasons I won't get into because of spoilers, but it's not even really that much of a spoiler. But really, the big problem is that it's just a Call of Duty campaign. It's not a Call of Duty campaign with cool exosuits, future cities, and what have you. It's not Modern Warfare, where you need to do things along the lines of going silently into this house with night vision goggles on and taking down every door along the way. It's not like any of that. It's just so bare bones basic Call of Duty that it just doesn't inspire in the same ways that Modern Warfare did when it originally came out, or the Modern Warfare remake did with a mission like Clean House. So it just doesn't hit in any reasonable way, and it's just a flat line of enjoyment from start to finish. There are a couple of neat missions that come along the way, though. There is this one mission where you're wandering around a Russian embassy or whatever the hell it is for a bit. I'd be lying if I said I remember for sure. Where you need to find a way to get a bunker key in the first half of it. And you can do it in multiple different ways. And there are some interesting results that can come of that. And there is another mission where, to not put too much spoilers onto things, it's kind of a fever dream that's being controlled by someone else. But with that said, those two missions don't really stand out either, just because their executions aren't particularly great. The Russian mission in particular, I'll get onto one reason why later on in this section. But the second reason is that you just, in the beginning it's interesting, but at the very end you just shoot your way out of it in the usual way that you do anyway, and it just doesn't really have any sort of lasting impact. And none of the other missions do either. They're just a lot of sound and fury signifying nothing for the most part. I don't know if it's me losing my taste for Call of Duty campaigns, because I like Call of Duty. I have played a lot of Call of Duty campaigns, but a lot of the previous ones have just been so boring for some reason. They haven't really been doing anything interesting. They haven't been doing any particularly impressive set pieces. They're just not that much fun to play in the long run. The last Call of Duty campaign I can say I really enjoyed was Advanced Warfare, because they put in a lot of effort in making some of those set pieces make sense. But this time around, all of the really cool stuff just seems to be just kind of pushed off to the side a little bit. And it's just your absolutely basic shoot a lot of dudes and watch them all fall over and die sort of things. It's depressing, because every time you get that little thing where you're sneaking around in the streets of the Soviet Union trying to rescue a dude, and you've got multiple ways to get around the problem. Or the Russian mission, as I mentioned. It shows that Call of Duty is capable of so much more when it puts a little bit of thought into it. But no, you gotta go back to shooty, the bad mans, more often than not. With that said, the gunplay is adequate. That's pretty much all I've got to say about the gunplay, because it's not Modern Warfare. Modern Warfare just pulled everything up to this ridiculously high standard. It was impressive just how good the guns in that game felt. So, coming back to this, which is pretty baseline for a Call of Duty game, but being baseline for a Call of Duty game is not baseline for Modern Warfare, but it is still adequate. The guns are still relatively satisfying. The vibration they give off is fun. The adaptive triggers on the PlayStation 5 are actually pretty neat to use, because they make guns feel heavier in general, which is a nice touch. But as a result of the fact that Modern Warfare exists, it really is just it's not iffy. It's not bad. It's not anything that I can just actively, like, say... It's not something that I can actively criticize in any one particular area. Just on a general level, it's less than a Modern Warfare. The reload animations are slightly less smooth. The gunplay is a little less recoil heavy, and it just doesn't have the same great feel as the Modern Warfare guns do. The sound design is not as good. Not by a decent length of space. So, yeah, it's just generally lower, but still serviceable. That's generally where the gunplay is. It's a lot more fun in multiplayer, where you can have a bunch of different guns with a bunch of different equipment and make it feel just that tiny bit better. But yeah, it's adequate, but not much more. There are a couple of other things about the way that the campaign is designed. So, the thing is, there are these 2 missions off to the side. You have access to them as soon as you've gone through the first couple of missions, right? And these 2 missions require evidence pulled from the previous missions in order to successfully go through them and capture the target that you need without getting a couple of extra slides at the end of the story. Cool idea. You also have to solve some puzzles, but they are quite simple puzzles. The first mission I played was alright, although it was this otherwise completely unremarkable shootout off this little highway in the United States. And then there was the second mission, which I didn't play, because the game actively warns you that the guy might get away and it might do you a detraction later. Hint, it won't, it just adds a couple of slides onto the end of the story. But I thought there might have actually been some proper consequences to letting this guy go, like the final mission might have been a bit harder or something along those lines. Unfortunately, the second and last piece of evidence you need for that mission is hidden in a level where it doesn't spawn. I don't know if this is a bug, I don't know if this is a random number generator just losing its mind, but for whatever reason, it just doesn't work. So I spent an hour restarting this mission, checking every single spot where the internet said these pickups would be, wasn't in any of them. I don't know why, it just wasn't there. As a result, didn't play that second mission, so that entire thing can just go right out the window. You know what else can go right out the window? The profile that you make. So, I was expecting the twist as it came up, because there was a twist related to this. Again, I won't mention what it is, but you make a profile at the beginning again, you put in your name, you put in your nationality, and you select a background. Then, you get to pick 2 perks. And these 2 perks are anything from flinch less, have more health, do more damage, reload faster. Kind of like a cut down selection of perks from the multiplayer. Here's the problem with that though. They're locked in as soon as you start the campaign. So if you pick 2 perks that end up being absolutely terrible together, or they end up not working in the same way that you would expect the campaign to come out, well, tough luck. Start again and pick a new set of perks, or just deal with it. I don't know why they won't let you swap out those perks like every mission, or something along those lines. It just seems to make a little bit more sense to me. Finally, I guess we've got to talk about the story now. I will probably spoil what happens in it, just because I want to talk about why I'm kind of annoyed with the way the entire thing turns out. But, skip to the next section, or at the very least, skip to... I've left time codes in the description. Go look at them, skip to the campaign, no commentary one, if you don't want to hear spoilers about the campaign. Don't blame you, I'll give you about 5 seconds. Alright, we're good. So the entire plot basically revolves around a super spy from, I don't even think he's from the USSR, I think he's just kind of independent, working against both teams. And he is working on getting his hands on some weaponry that can absolutely spell doom for the United States' personal, what's the word I'm looking for? Their reputation, and Europe just in general, because there's a bunch of nukes that are going to go off and destroy half of Europe. And the entire plot, for like 80% of it, like way up until the final couple of missions, is basically just chasing this guy's tail. You don't learn anything interesting about him, you don't learn anything along the lines about that, but the only thing you really learn about him is that he's evil. That's basically the long and the short of this guy's character. He's outright evil to the point of craziness, and you just gotta go and stop him. Right up until the second to last mission. Now, you have been following around the characters for some time. The only two characters I recognized were Woods and Mason. The rest of them are just kinda like new characters, and it's basically their story, so anyone who wants to play Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War basically doesn't have to worry about the Black Ops, but of course they attached Black Ops to it because it was a name that they could sell, and Woods and Mason weren't doing anything at this point in history, so why the hell not, right? So in the second to last mission, one of the characters you've been following, Adler is an absolute asshole. There is nothing likable about his character whatsoever. His hubris is the size of the Empire State Building. He does nothing but just call everyone idiots, more or less, and do stupid things at high risk. And then at the very end, he reveals to you that he's been mind controlling you this whole time. You were one of the big bads, big cronies, and you have been brainwashed by the CIA in order to go and take him down. And he does it in the most asshole-ish way humanly possible, to the point where I think it's on purpose. The way he's portrayed in doing all this brainwashing stuff makes him so inherently unlikable that I went for the non-canon, you kill everyone ending just to spite the motherfucker. And it's so weird because in an age where movies, TV shows, and video games have been more than willing to kill off fan-favorite characters just to like make some kind of point that never hits home because people actually like the characters that get killed off. At the very end of the day, you get to, at least in the ending that I picked, I didn't go down the good ending. But in the ending that I picked, where I went to kill the son of a bitch because he did nothing but piss me off for the entire game, he gets more like a proper standing up to his fate time than Woods and Mason did. Woods and Mason get Sniper Elite styled shot, and then that's the end of them. By you. You basically take them out. You turn into a one-man army despite being backed up by a bunch of mercenaries. And then when you get to him, again, he just gets more, I'm gonna try and resist you. I am the better man in this one. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? Fuck this guy. I'm just gonna kill him. And then it turns out, if you go pick the good ending, which I read up on later, if you go pick the good ending, it basically comes down to, hey, I'm Adler, you did a good job, you saved the world, sorry, I have to kill you, draws gun. And that was it. That was basically the entire arc of his character. He doesn't learn any lesson, he's just an absolute asshole from beginning to end, and he made me just not like the entire story, because it's basically his story of how he brainwashed you, and how whether or not you're meant to root for him because he's from the United States and there are nukes that might go off, and that's another thing. There is another option. Hunt down Perseus yourself and kill him. I'm surprised you can't turn on him at the very end of the bad ending, but I don't know. It's just, nah. At the end, when Adler had been revealed to be the megalomaniacal asshole that he is, I found myself not caring because he was the only character who had any sort of depth. You've got the black guy and the British lady, and that is the best way to describe not only their looks but their personalities. You've got Woods and Mason, and you get a neat little Easter egg with Woods, who, I think it's Woods anyway, no, it's the Mason, sorry, it's Mason, where in one of the missions you control him on, he pulls out a crossbow bolt and the numbers start flashing across the screen. It's a nice little Easter egg, but it's not even really an Easter egg because you have to run into it anyway, so it's just kind of a thing that happens. And there's basically nothing else to it. As I said, your choices outside of the big one don't really matter. The side missions just give you a couple of extra slides at the end of the day. And finally, the one thing that just really pissed me off, because at the end of the day, this is really going to be the only thing that comes out of this entire situation, is the fact that during said Russian mission that I talked about earlier, you see Imran Zakhaev, and I actually recognize the bastard's name and face, because he is the big bad of the original Modern Warfare game. So if this isn't meant to be a tease for Modern Warfare 2, which is almost guaranteed to be out next year, I would be really surprised. Yeah, as a result, I don't really care. Doesn't do enough really cool stuff. It just blows stuff up all the time, which just, you know, that doesn't hold most people's attention. The story is just mostly tail-tasing and then a bunch of bullshit at the end that really doesn't make it for a clear good guy. Except maybe the good guy's the one who wants to stop the nukes, but then again, you're in the head of a guy who's just been brainwashed within an inch of his life. It's kind of hard to make a decision between that if you're actually trying to embody the character you're playing. And there's just nothing really, and just, it really, at the end of the day, the only thing that's massively going to be memorable about this game is that it's going to be the first appearance of Imran Zakayev. So, I don't care. I'm happy I had the ability to uninstall this game and not touch the rest of it because it freed up a good 60 gigabytes on my hard drive. With that said, I'm going to shut up and let you watch a little bit more of this campaign footage. I'll see you in the multiplayer section.
The stakes are too high. High is an understatement. We're talking about an American nuke hidden beneath Berlin. I want to make sure you're committed, Hudson.
The play's been called. The ball's in motion.
Well, if the asset learns the truth,
You're worried about truth now?
I'm concerned about control of the...
I'm grabbing a copy. This doesn't make any sense. Perseus infiltrated a CIA nuke program, codenamed Operation Greenlight, run by Hudson. The stolen nuke is American, and Hudson fucking knew. Shit, time to go. I can't fucking believe it. Park, come in. Park! Hudson lied to us. He fucking lied to us.
What are you talking about? What's your breaking up? Get the hell out of there!
Use the facade as cover.
Hey, they're trying to cut us off. Incoming. They're trying to cut us off.
What? Bell? What's your status?
Just make sure Adler mates are ready at the exfil. We've got to reach that exit.
Bastards are blocking the exit. We're gonna have to punch through them. Cover me. Heads up, got another Bell. Bell, watch that fucker. Coming up on our right. God damn it! Oh, urban renewal, you assholes! Hold on, Bell. Bell, watch that fucker. Coming up on our right. God damn it! Called urban renewal, you assholes! Hold on, Bell. Bell, watch that fucker. Coming up on our right. God damn it! Called urban renewal, you assholes! Fuck that guy. Keep shooting. I'm looking for an exit. Would have killed him to put in some goddamn street signs. There, I can see the exit. Let's roll out. Fire safety is under. I'm gonna floor it. Keep shooting. I'm looking for an exit. Would have killed him to put in some goddamn street signs. There, I can see the exit. Let's roll out. Focus fire those APCs. I'm gonna floor it. Oh, hell yeah!
What, Bell? What's your status?
Gather everyone, Park. The whole team. Hudson's got a shit ton of explaining to do.
So with the multiplayer, we're going to tackle it a little bit differently. I just got a list of bullet points that I'm just going to read off here in quick fire. But I will point out that multiplayer in these games tends to change a lot from the time it's released to the time the cycle is over at the end of the year. But then again, by that time, nobody's playing it anyway, so it's not like it matters. But I'm just going to lay it all out on the table like that, and hopefully some of the negatives I have will be improved on during the game's life cycle, but you never know, so let's get to it. Here's the stuff that I like in quickfire. You've got tons of options. Modern Warfare had a lot of options, and this does too. You have keyboard and mouse support, although considering the lack of USB ports on the PlayStation 5, that's probably going to be a problem to pull off. You've got field of view support. You've got an absolute ton of options for the controller. You've got an absolute ton of options for the way the game looks and being able to turn off ray tracing, being able to turn off motion blur, being able to just do all of those little things in order to make that game experience a little bit better. Always a plus. Persistent score streaks are back. I always liked persistent score streaks, and I don't know why they're not in every Call of Duty game, because instead of having to rely on some sweats not shooting you down and killing all your kill streaks, having score streaks be persistent means that you at least get the opportunity to use some of them during a match, and some of them you do actively have to earn, because good luck to the bastard who's going to earn the gunship that costs like 10,000 points and isn't anywhere near good enough a COD to get that high. So it's all about options, and you get those options. They improved the gunsmith significantly. Not only can you get a wild card to add all the add-ons to your gun, but you can actually see what the add-ons do now instead of having to make a basic guess of what they do. So that's a really nice change. You've got a good selection of wild cards and perks this time. Not as diverse as I would usually like, but I like what's there. There's plenty of options to go about how you want to play, including Gung Ho, which is always my favorite to take in these sorts of games. But there are some good wild cards as well, like extra ones. Pick 2 perks from one area and get a few extra things going in your equipment. A couple of just things like that that are just, they give you that little bit of extra spice in the way you want to handle a creator class, which is good. The way that they've got the game mode selectable in the multiplayer is great. for the most part. There are a couple of modes that are just way out to the side, like the Combined Arms Mosh Pit and the Fire Team Dirty Bomb, which we'll get to in the negatives. But for the core modes, which is like, what is it, like 6v6, Team Deathmatch, Domination, VIP, I think VIP's in there, Hardpoint, just all the usual modes are all in this one thing, and you can select all of them, or one of them, or a variety of them, but not all of them, which I really appreciate, because I usually just leave them all turned on and just hop straight in for some variety. So, no argument with the way they're approaching that stuff. Thankfully, the maps that they do include this time around aren't complete and utter garbage. There's no map that takes place in St. Volksburg or whatever. There's no Piccadilly Circus. There's no anything along those lines. All of the maps are at a decent baseline of quality, or at the very least the ones that work in the core modes. So, no particular problems there. The load times are amazing on PlayStation 5 when you've got the game installed to the SSD, which, I mean, you have to do that anyway, but I'm just saying. It works really well when there aren't other people pulling it down, because you're eventually going to get tossed into a game with like 3 Xbox players, 2 PC players, and a partridge in a pear tree, right? And I was playing on PS4, of course. PS5, of course. So, there was a couple of games, actually, where I was put in with nothing but PlayStation players, and it loaded in so quick that I was actively surprised. So, hopefully they add an option to only play with, like, next-gen people, so that the loading times aren't absolute garbage, because there's this one guy on his base PS4 with all the fans clogged up that sounds like a jet engine, keeping us all lagged behind, but I guess we're going to have to deal with that in the multiplayer segments of things for a couple of years to come, until the PS4 and Xbox One stop being profitable platforms to develop for, but we'll see. And the reports are, while they're not, well, I mean, they are straying the game. There is evidence of this in the game, like a big message saying, hey, this is coming back, but Gunfight's coming back. So it's not going to be left behind in the Modern Warfare distribution, which is nice, because I much prefer being able to play Gunfight in, whatchamacallit. I much prefer being able to play Gunfight in Modern Warfare. If I still had a copy of Modern Warfare, I would be holding on to Gunfight with my bare hand. So that's it for my positives, and I will say that with everything I've just said in mind, the multiplayer experience, at least when you're playing the 6 versus 6 modes, when it comes to Cold War, is decent enough. It's good enough to jump in and just have a couple of games for like an hour or so and then jump back out, and you won't run into any humongous roadblockers to the enjoyment, like how in Modern Warfare every single map ended up being a fucking sniper bonanza, or just having so many holes that it was impossible to watch all of them. But anyway, with that said, let's get on to my negatives. It's a Call of Duty game, just like how the sky is blue, turtles are green. Call of Duty games will always have terrible spawns. That is basically just the way this game works at this point. I've had a couple of situations where I've been shot, and where I've respawned is close enough to my body that I can just turn to the right a little bit and see my body from when I previously died still falling over in ragdoll mode. It's fantastic. But yeah, the spawns are still kind of shit. They're not absolutely shit. They're very inconsistent about being shit, but when they're shit, they're shit. There's also nothing in the way of multiplayer maps. You've only got 6 maps properly meant for 6 versus 6 gameplay, and then you've got 2 that have been converted from the 12v12 maps. And the 12v12 mode is something that is absolutely worth talking about because it's absolute garbage, and I'll tell you why. Call of Duty is always better when everything is reduced to just the short-range confrontations. Whether it be just up close and personal to the point where a shotgun would send a dude's brain flying in 50 different directions, to say like a street or something, crossing a street, or maybe on the other side of, say, a church or a cathedral, things just like that kind of size of encounters. But the thing about the 6v6 maps is that they don't have too much in the way of open space. So you end up needing to get at least relatively close in order to get a shot on someone. And whenever someone's got a sniper's perch going on, they can at least be seen from a few different directions and therefore can be shot. In the 12v12 maps, this does not matter in the slightest. They're huge. They have tons of open space, whether it be Armada, where there is an absolutely massive amount of open space both inside and outside the gigantic boat that is the center point, or whether it be the one that's in the winter. I don't remember exactly what it's called, but it's basically just a gigantic open land for half of the map. And it means that the sniper is the king. You need a sniper in order to be able to effectively combat people in this, because otherwise getting to the other end of this without getting your head shot off by a sniper is almost impossible, and it's incredibly goddamn frustrating. So as a result, those two maps end up being absolutely terrible to play on, because it's just not fun trying to find a way to get around all these snipers without either getting your head shot off by a sniper, or being tracked down by like 2 or 3 dudes at the same time, or being tracked down by a fucking tank, because that can happen every now and again. They've got tanks now because they needed tanks in Call of Duty. I mean, I know they had it in Ground War, but at least in Ground War, that turned out to be such a clusterfuck that it meant that you wouldn't be too bothered by something. In this game, the tank is immensely overpowered, and you find yourself just being shot by it at any time. And here's the problem, and this is the same problem that Titanfall 2 had until they patched in the ability to carry around 3 weapons. You can't effectively deal with anything you might come across with one creator class. You're going to want a AK-47 or just like a regular medium range rifle for anything for close combat. You're going to want a sniper rifle for something that can get over those really long distances without getting you shot in the process because you missed every shot with your AK. And then you're going to want a rocket launcher because you're going to be able to deal with like tanks or vehicles or something along those lines. And you see the problem, 2 weapon slots, 3 weapons that you need to be able to effectively compete against everything, which means that eventually you're just going to get rock, paper, scissors out of existence by the one thing you didn't account for, no matter what you do. And it just makes the 12v12 modes feel so incredibly frustrating and boring because you just spent half your time wandering back to the front only to get your head shot off by a sniper or a tank, or if you equip yourself to fight off snipers and tanks, you end up getting ambushed by a guy with an AK and you're dead. So there's really not that much else you can do about it. There's also Dirty Bomb, but no one's playing Dirty Bomb. I tried to find matches for Dirty Bomb 4 times, and I couldn't find a single Dirty Bomb match. Which is fine, because what I played of the beta indicates that it's just kind of a rip-off of Warzone. So you might as well just go and play Warzone. Which, by the way, you can't do from the main menu of this game. Because they don't include it. You need to go download it separately. But when you press the X button to go and actually look at, like, say, Warzone, when it launches it, it's like, oh, we couldn't find this application. Doesn't direct you to the store page, doesn't do anything. It's just like, oh, we couldn't find it. Why? I don't know. That's just what they chose to do. I'm guessing that there's going to be a PlayStation 5 native version of Warzone coming very soon that will solve this problem. But, yeah, it's just, yeah. As a result, the only good multiplayer experience that I've had so far in this game is in the core playlists. Admittedly, you can play with bots, but they can only play domination and both forms of deathmatch. So, yeah, why bother with anything except core? The rest of it is either uninhabited or shit. I'm sorry to say it, but it is. So if you enjoy paying $60 for multiplayer for Call of Duty every year and you're only going to want 8 maps and one particular set of modes to play, because there's really just not that much else to it, it's about the same as most Call of Duties have been in the past few years, then yeah, you don't want anything to do with it. I still think Advanced Warfare is the tip top of where this series went over the past decade or so after the Modern Warfare trilogy just shook things up massively, but they don't seem to want to take any lessons from that. So I just end up thinking to myself, you know what? This isn't the worst Call of Duty I've ever played, but it just doesn't keep me interested, and I imagine that I won't be interested for very long. I'll play it every now and again, but, you know, you always hope for something like a unique hook to keep it interesting, and it's really just basic Call of Duty again, so, At least I might be able to hold on to Gunfight when that shows up again. Alright, see you all in the zombies section.
We're in the lead. Field mic is online.
Losing Alpha.
Throwing stun. Throwing stun.
Spy plane standing by.
Close out the wind, then do it again. Losing Bravo.
Throwing stun.
Losing Charlie. Halftime.
Enemy maneuvering.
Switching sides. Take the objectives. Taking Charlie. Enemy has Alpha. We've pulled ahead. C locked down. Losing Charlie. Enemy has B.
Spy plane establishing perimeter angel set.
Throwing stun.
Hostile spy plane established overhead.
Spy plane
Taking Bravo.
Stun.
Spy plane is low on fuel. Ready to
Objective
B
is ours.
secure.
So requesting spy plane testing.
Threat down.
Enemy spy plane inbound. Multiple enemy spy plane contacts.
Deploying RCXD.
Losing B. Enemy took B.
Fragged. Field mic is online.
Securing Bravo. Securing Charlie. Charlie locked down. Taking Alpha.
Field mic commencing operation.
Hostiles have destroyed one of your field mics.
Enemy spy plane inbound. Taking Bravo. Losing C.
Your field mic has been destroyed.
Hostile counter spy plane established above. No second chances. This is all or nothing. Securing Alpha.
Molotov out. Cover me.
Taking
Taking
B.
the objective. Heads down. Sniper.
Artillery targeting detected. Net call. Incoming artillery. Enemy spy plane inbound. Hostile attack helicopter inbound. Taking Bravo. Enemy care package above. Losing Charlie. Taking B.
Spy plane available for tasking.
Enemy spy plane inbound. Losing C. Bravo locked down. Enemy has C. Multiple hostile spy planes detected.
Enemy patrol.
Here's the thing about zombies. I don't get it. I really don't get it. I have tried so hard to get it, but I cannot find any enjoyment in this at all. So I need to go over the basics of zombies just to make sure I understand how this is supposed to work, because I have tried playing zombies in like 3 Call of Duty games before this one, and I've never managed to get my head around the concept. I played it in, I think I played the original in Black Ops, then I think I played one of the ones in between that and Black Ops 3? Was it 3? No, it was 4. It was 4 because 4 was the one that had the Titanic map. And now I've tried it again in Black Ops Cold War, and I feel like I still don't get it. Because after all the time I spent playing the Titanic map in Zombies in Black Ops 4, I still didn't understand the basics. So let me try and outline the basics to make sure I understand. And if I've got this wrong, leave a comment, tell me what I've got wrong, because I would really like to know at this point, and I didn't want to go looking up a wiki and end up spoiling that whole first impressions thing that I try and do properly. So here's what I think the deal is. Zombies come in, and you shoot them. But you also have to blow away walls in order to get through using money that you earn from killing zombies. You can also use that money to buy weapons off the wall. I know this part is very self-explanatory, but let me get to it. You do also have ranks for your weapons, which you can upgrade via getting materials that zombies drop. You also have the Pack-a-Punch machine. And I have no idea how you're meant to get the Pack-a-Punch machine working. I have played multiple zombies matches. I couldn't tell you the exact number, but I have played a few. I recorded one, and I've put the footage in the background here. And I have no idea how to get this, because the game never told me, and every time I end up in a game, someone always ends up getting it done before I can get it done, so I don't know how the hell you're supposed to do it, and the game doesn't make it immediately obvious, at the very least. There are some objective markers that come up, like retrieve the part, but that doesn't give you any bloody idea of what's going on, and someone always does it before I have any idea to figure out what the deal is. And once you've done that, you get the Pack-a-Punch machine, which you can then use the credits you've been using for that you've been getting from killing zombies and upgrading your weapons in the Pack-a-Punch machine to give them even more damage. And it's like an RPG, where the zombies are able to take more damage on every wave, and then every few waves there's a boss, and then you can also extract in order to get more points. And there are also perk vending machines around the place that you can spend money on that give you the ability to run faster, have more health, get your dudes up faster. And you also have a couple of special abilities that you can use, like being able to turn invisible for a few seconds, or dealing out just like a wave of damage to everything around you. And that's basically it. There are also some really in-depth Easter eggs where the checklist is like 50 pages long, and you can somehow just end up screwing up one step and having to do it all again. They call these the Easter eggs. And this is a ridiculous set of Easter eggs if I've ever seen them, and it kind of makes up for the fact that the Easter egg of Mason seeing the numbers happens in the campaign so much that it doesn't even feel like an Easter egg. But anyway, is that the point of zombies? Just upgrade your weapons as far as they'll go, and then just try and last as long as possible. Because it's so inherently unsatisfying to the way the Call of Duty works that I have found no pleasure in playing it whatsoever. Just the whole running around these huge hordes of zombies that can hit you from what feels like 10 feet away, trying to shoot them and getting next to no feedback as to whether you're doing damage outside of just damage numbers, to just needing to run around like a chicken with your head cut off again, because by the time you get to wave 20, they can kill you in 3 hits. And by the time you get to wave 30, they can kill you in 2 hits. So you need to just be constantly running around in a circle because the hordes are that big and they take so little damage that you need to be just doing constant circle sprints around them in order to take them out, just by turning back and just shooting and then turning back and running away again. To the point where that's all I was watching the dudes I was playing with at this point do. Just run around in circles, take a pot shot every now and then, and eventually you'll wear them down. But the worst part is the weapons and the upgrades, because the way the weapons and the upgrades work is that you lose them when you die. So if you've got a gun that's been pack-a-punched, and you have, you've got like 30,000 credits, and a bunch of materials put into this one gun, and then you die and your teammates don't get you up, you lose that. And so you can respawn at the beginning of every wave, but that means you need to head back down to the Pack-a-Punch machine and buy all your upgrades again. And by the time you've done that, all the zombies have swarmed you and you're dead. This happened to me more times than I could possibly count, and I could not find any enjoyment out of this process whatsoever. It was just running away from these zombies and turning around and taking a couple of pot shots at them. Over and over and over again, and I found it to be incredibly unsatisfying as a result. Do I get it? Do I understand what the point of zombies is? Because I really feel like I don't. They're literally giving away on the PlayStation 5 a Call of Duty 3 Zombies Chronicles pack, which gives you like 9 zombie maps, and they must love this game mode to remaster all those maps for one game and then give it away on PlayStation Plus. There must be a huge following of this series of modes, but I just don't get it. I get no satisfaction out of this whatsoever, and I'm surprised that anyone else does, if I'm being honest with you. It's just so inherently unsatisfying on a base level. Not to mention, this game only launches with one zombies map. The D Machine or something like that. In Call of Duty Black Ops 4, at least you got 3. Hell, I think you got 4 if you bought the special edition. I'd be lying if I said I remembered exactly, but at least it took some of the repetitiveness out of it. This map is just kind of this run-down building that gets really old really fast. So yeah, I don't know if I get it or not. If I do, and I just don't like it, that's fine. But if I don't, please tell me what I'm missing in the comments, because I don't know how anyone can find this enjoyable for more than a few minutes at a time. I'll be back at the end of this footage with my final thoughts.
Come mierda.
Good teamwork.
Injury healed.
Gracias, my friend.
Max ammo. Stuck here. Max ammo. Double points.
Outrageous! That shut you up, didn't it?
So after my time with Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, I'm not impressed. The campaign is just painfully average, let down by one really bad character and a bunch of stuff that just doesn't work. The multiplayer is let down by the fact that 2 out of the 3 modes that they've put on the main multiplayer tab as of launch week are either unplayable or so annoying as to be unplayable, and the rest is just relatively basic and undersupplied, and I absolutely hate zombies, and it's only got one map this time around. The game feels light on content. The game feels... Honestly, it really does feel rushed. I haven't run into anything in the way of technical issues or anything along those lines, but I don't think this game's got anything going for it. It is the checklist that you do for a Call of Duty game and nothing else. Nothing special, nothing that stands out about it. It's just a bore. That was supposed to be what we were supposed to avoid when Call of Duty swapped to a 3-year release cycle with 3 different sets of developers, but apparently Sledgehammer and Raven just couldn't work this one out because this was supposed to be their game as far as I'm aware, but Treyarch had to come in and just fix it for them instead of working on their own game. So God knows what the hell is going to come next, but I'm willing to bet some heads are going to roll in Activision over this one. With that said, I'm going to go back to playing some better games. This has been Blue Maxima, and I will see you all next time.